Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Good evening. You're listening to Salaam Radio 106.2 FM. And of course, you're joining us for Friday Night Prime every Friday at 9 p.m. Inshallah, with me, Ahmed Suleiman, and my co-host, Faisal Mahmood. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Good to have you back again, bro. Mind you were here last week.
Was I?
It seems weird.
Yeah,
I don't know what's up. I'm losing all track of time.
We were. Yeah, weeks are flying by.
They are flying by.
Yeah.
But always good to have you, and always good to have you listeners as well with us. Salaam Radio 106.2 FM. A warm welcome, as always, to our Inspire FM listeners in Luton on 105.1. We are, of course, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, online at salamradio.co.uk. And of course, if you haven't already, please download our iPhone and Android apps. There's no reason not to be listening to us and taking us with you wherever you may be. We are, of course, always on air for you 24/7, 365, uniting all communities. Salaam Radio is all about creating unity within the Muslim and wider community, delivering the positive message of true Islam and promoting peace and harmony. Please do make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course YouTube as well. Just search for us in YouTube and you will not have any problems finding our unmistakable logo to subscribe to our video channel, where all our shows you can listen again. And of course you can get involved in the show today via WhatsApp. The number is 07745 278 978. Or you can give us a call, come through to the studio on 01733 602 133. Or you can send us a Facebook Live message. Now, this week, I'm very pleased to tell you we're going to be joined shortly by Shahzad Younas, CEO and founder of Muzmatch, an app where single Muslims meet. And we'll be discussing his career, his background, how it all started for Muzmatch, Muslims in the tech industry, a discussion around that, some interesting topics we'll be discussing, and of course, what the future holds both for him and for the business. But before that, I want to play, as I always do, a track, and this week is no different. This is Shukran Allah by Saif Adam.
Started a journey, and I'm nowhere near the end. With every stumble, there's a lesson to be learned. And I got a message, and I want it to be heard. With all the promises that life can lend, I got the world on my shoulders, but I don't care. I got that faith in Allah that'll take me there. We got the world on our shoulders, but we don't care. We have Allah in our hearts, and He'll take us there. We're moving mountains, we're building the bridges. When we fall down, we get up, we got that vision. We're moving mountains, we're building bridges. When we fall down, we get up, we got that vision. Shukran Allah, walhamdulillah. Shukran Allah, walhamdulillah. Shukran Allah, walhamdulillah. Shukran Allah, walhamdulillah. Don't lose inspiration, don't be hard on yourself. You're one in a billion. You motivate the ones you love. You got your own way. You're finding places no one finds. You're right at the shadow, now you'll be just fine. I got the world on my shoulders, but I don't care. I got that faith in Allah that'll take me there. We got the world on our shoulders, but we don't care. We have Allah in our hearts, and He'll take us there. We're moving mountains, we're building the bridges. When we fall down, we get up, we got that vision. We're moving mountains, we're building bridges. When we fall down, we get up, we got that vision. Shukran Allah, walhamdulillah. Shukran Allah, walhamdulillah. Shukran Allah, walhamdulillah. Shukran Allah, شكرا الله والحمد لله شكرا الله والحمد لله شكرا الله والحمد لله شكرا الله والحمد لله الحمد لله yeah started a journey and I'm nowhere near the end.
That was Saif Adam with Shukran Allah, one of my favourites. I always say that after each track because I genuinely do play only my favourite tracks. That's just how it is when you have your own show. So anyway, assalamu alaikum, welcome back. Now, in 2014, Shahzad Younas, the CEO and founder of Muzmatch, left a 10-year career in investment banking at Morgan Stanley to work on Muzmatch full-time. And completely self-taught, he single-handedly built the first version of the app, which launched on Apple and Android in just 6 months. And within a year of the app, they'd grown to over 65,000 members. And then Ryan Brody, his co-founder, joined in April 2016. And together they rebuilt and relaunched version 2 of Muzmatch, which has now grown to over 300,000 members worldwide, almost all exclusively by word of mouth. And he says, our mission is simple, to help the rich, diverse mix of Muslims around the world to find their partner in a halal, respectful and modern platform. Assalamu alaikum, Shahzad, and welcome to Friday Night Prime.
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you for having me.
No, you're welcome, and thanks for coming up from London. And I think, as you were saying, en route to Manchester straight after.
Yes, exactly. See, don't stop driving.
Don't stop driving. Fantastic. Awesome. Listen, you came up from London, but where are you from originally?
Originally from Manchester. So okay. Manchester born and bred, and then, you know, when I got my first job at the bank, I came down to London, and I've kind of lived there for 12 odd years now.
Oh, it's been that long, is it?
Yeah, I'm officially a southerner now.
Your accent isn't there anymore.
No, I can't shake the northern accent. It's still strong.
There's a little remnants.
A little tinge of it.
Yeah, not much. But so you studied in Manchester, did you?
Yes.
Okay, so you went to uni up there, and
exactly.
Tell us about uni days and uni life. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, Manchester, I think it actually is the biggest student population in Europe, because you've got Manchester University, Manchester Metropolitan, UMIST, etc. So I mean, the university is great. I did computer science, and at Manchester it's one of the best institutions to do computer science at.
Yeah.
It's actually got a lot of history of some of the original computers that came out.
Okay.
So there's a computer called the Manchester Baby, which was actually created out of there. Oh. One of my lecturers was one of the, I guess he's the founders of ARM, which is basically the chip that's in every single iPhone.
Oh, of course.
And it's a great British tech success story, if you will.
Yeah.
So a lot of history there. So yeah, Manchester born and bred, and
wow.
Graduated, and then I decided to have a change in my life and actually went down the finance road.
And that was a conscious decision to do that, was it?
Yes, because you know, the conventional tech roles at the time, so this was 2005, were actually not that appealing.
Okay.
And I think things had moved on from, call it the .com bust, if you will.
Yeah.
And finance was obviously the hot thing, and I thought actually, at the time, it was a lot more interesting to me. It was a lot more of a challenge, so I kind of pursued that route.
There's a big shift, though, isn't it, coming from a technical background and going into finance? What made you actually do that?
I mean, don't get me wrong, it's I think both in terms of kind of the difficulty of the job as well as the challenges, and it's you know, I was a trader at Morgan Stanley. It's a very kind of prized role to be at and to do. It's very hard to get into.
Sure.
So alhamdulillah, I was very lucky to kind of get that position. You know, for me, and I think more so looking back at it now, my tech background actually only helped me in that job. Okay. You know, more so because, you know, if you look at trading and the way that's kind of evolved, you know, essentially it's gone from the old manual markets where people were shouting and trading versus what it is now, which is a highly electronic, very algorithm-driven market. So my background in technology, in coding, in understanding logic, etc., actually set me apart from a lot of the other traders because, you know, I was native to all of this. So for me, that was my edge. And I think that's just one thing I've realized, you know, as you kind of go through your life and do different things, different aspects of what you've learned actually are your key advantages versus other people. So for me, it's never be shy of the stuff that you've learned and the stuff that you know. Use it to your advantage.
Absolutely. No, that's fantastic. So I suppose the key question is, how did after doing that, the stint at Morgan Stanley, excuse me, how did Muzmatch come about? Was it, tell us about that first thought in your head. And
exactly. Well, I remember at the time, so this was probably 2012. So I was still at work, I was still, doing my job. And I remember a lot of my friends and almost everyone I knew, and even within the London Muslim professional scene, so many people were single, but at the same time were struggling to find a partner. And I remember looking at all the kind of services and offerings that were out there. So the conventional websites that have been around forever, the events, the kind of matchmakers, etc. And I found, generally the vibe and the feedback I got from a lot of people was, they're very expensive, they're very awkward, and the quality is actually really poor. Right. And things haven't moved on at all. And for me, I was kind of baffled as, for something that's so important within the Muslim community, in terms of finding your partner and trying to kind of solve that aspect of your life, if you will, or complete that aspect of your life. I was amazed at how we'd actually progressed very little in the space. So at the time, I created, what was a Muzmatch website. This was kind of before mobile apps really took off. But then, when it got to 2013, 2014, apps were really kind of the mainstay. You could really see that things had taken off in a big way.
Right.
If you look at mainstream, call it dating apps for the Western markets, you could clearly see the transition that had happened. Sure. And I thought, actually, if somebody does this for the Muslim market, but does it really well to a high standard, this could be something big. Right. So, come 2014, I actually decided, you know what? I'm gonna regret this for the rest of my life if I don't do this and somebody else does. Sure. So I took the brave decision. I quit my job, and I remember, from the bedroom of my home, I literally just sat there for over a year actually, and just built basically Muzmatch and launched it. Wow. So it was a true kind of single-handedly, yeah. So it was a major achievement, and for me there was. For me, I wanted to learn how to build apps. I didn't want to outsource it. I didn't want to necessarily pay somebody else and have them build it. Okay. Because, for me, this was the foundation of the company. Right. And if, the way I look at it, if you're going to run a company and manage it and grow it, you need to understand all aspects of it intimately. And you can't necessarily be at, let's say, the mercy of a developer or somebody else that you've outsourced it to. Sure. Because you can't control the product. You can't build it the way you want to. You can't kind of have that. You can't complete on the vision that you want. Okay. It's very difficult and it can be very expensive. So I sat there and I kind of reskilled. I learned how to build apps. I learned how to code and built the Android and Apple one within about 6 months and launched it. So it was, I remember it was 18-hour days. I used to wake up at 7 a.m. I used to go to sleep at pretty much 1 a.m. every single day. I don't think I left the house for a long time. But for me, I wanted to get this done. I think that's the kind of guy I am. And was it the vision that was driving you forward? Was that the sole reason you kept going on? Exactly. For me, I just thought, look, I want to be the first. I want to be the best. Yeah. And that's kind of progressed in everything we've done. There's so many features that we've been the first to do, and this is not just within the Muslim space, but even if you call it, if you put all of these kind of apps within the dating app bucket, for us, obviously our focus is matrimony. We're trying to match people together for the sake of marriage. Right. On Muzmatch, we were the first app to mandatory have as part of our sign up selfie verification. Okay. So for example, when you actually sign up, we actually lock onto the front camera of your phone and we say take a photo there and then. So we prove that the photos that you upload are actually of you. And nobody was doing that at the time, nobody. And we were the first. And now other apps have slowly started to introduce this. There's a whole bunch of stuff, I'm sure we'll talk about it through the course of the show. I'm sure. That we do that nobody else is doing. We have more plans that we're really excited about that we know no one's doing at all, and it'll be a breath of fresh air for the Muslim market. Yeah. Fantastic.
What would be the reason that you're specifically targeting the Muslim market? Because you're saying you've got all these great ideas and features. Wouldn't it make sense to go into other markets? Exactly.
Well, people have said this, and and even some of our investors and people I've spoken to have said, look, as a platform and as an app, you guys have a really high quality app. Why don't you serve other markets? Why don't you go for, let's say, this would be in inverted commas a great dating app for non-Muslims, for example. Yeah. And the way I look at this is look, there's a specific reason why I started this, and it was to serve the Muslim market, because we have, there's undoubtedly we have huge problems in terms of in this particular area, and I wanted to make sure that I do all I can to, inshallah, solve this problem, or at least do the best we can to try and solve it. And for me, the Muslim market is more than big enough for us to just focus on, because you realise, you can try and serve so many different types of people, or in a way try and be a jack of all trades. Yeah. And I think it does a disservice to the app itself. Of course. So for us, I'd I'd much rather spend all of our time and make the highest quality and best app for the Muslim market globally, because our vision is global. You know, we want, you know, whether you're a Muslim here, Indonesia, in Pakistan, wherever you are, if you're thinking of getting married, and, you know, we know technology is playing a bigger and bigger part in people's lives. If you're thinking of getting married, we want you to think Muzmatch is the place you go. It's literally, once we have that kind of recognition in people's heads, I think we've really achieved something big.
On that note, we just had a WhatsApp message. This is from Humera in London, who says, lovely to see Muzmatch being featured. I've tried so many apps, but Muzmatch gave me the best success. Alhamdulillah, I'll be getting married this year. My fiancé had only joined 4 days before we talked. I've been looking on and off for 2 years. Thanks for a wonderful app. So that's a wonderful message.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
It's genuinely, I can't tell you how touching that is. You know, I remember when I first started this, and it was about 6 months in, and I literally heard from nobody, you know, and I thought, this has been a bit of a disaster. You know, built this app, and I thought, have I just done the one thing I didn't want to do, which was make an app that just helps guys and girls talk, and that's it, right? I was kind of in a moral quandary, if you will, in my head. And then I remember, I got the first email of someone saying, oh, I got married through your app. Thank you so much. Yeah. And that was, I remember the day, because it was a big kind of moment, because I thought, this is actually real. This has helped someone for real. And alhamdulillah, it just snowballed from then. So I remember we got more and more emails, and to the point now, you know, we get literally 50 people a day. Wow. It blows our mind, who leave our app and specifically tell us, I got engaged from your app, or I got married, or, you know, parents are meeting and this is serious, etc. And it's amazing. So Humera, you know, thank you for your message, and, you know, inshallah, you know, hope everything works out, and it definitely means a lot to us, because stories like that genuinely keep us going.
I mean, that is a real motivator, isn't it?
It doesn't get better than that.
Like
it really doesn't.
Customer satisfaction.
Exactly. Exactly.
And people send in photos of their wedding. You know, there are quite a few people now we know who have had kids, and they send photos of their kids. It's amazing, you know, that, you know, you've had a genuine positive effect on someone's life through the work that we do. So alhamdulillah, we're in a very, very lucky position.
Fantastic.
I mean, we've learned that you studied computer science, but what is it that actually sparked your interest in tech?
You know, I think it probably goes back to when I was a lot younger. You know, I remember my dad got me my first computer, which was a BBC Micro.
Oh, I remember those.
So you remember the days of the Acorn, right?
Of course.
So
How old were you then?
Oh my God, I think 10 or 12, I can't remember. My memory's terrible when it comes to these things. And I remember, he bought a load of, and it was the big square floppy disks, the big ones.
Yeah, the big ones.
And I think they were 5¼ inch those.
That's it.
And he bought a load of games and all this kind of stuff. And I remember I used to spend more time building like menu systems and rather than playing the games. I used to be coding in BASIC, which was a language.
Of course.
And that was the spark. I've always loved coding and playing with the computers and stuff. And that was kind of the initial spark. And then from then, it just kind of progressed and progressed. I've always had that interest. And, you know, I guess when I was doing banking for what was it, in excess of 10 years, I kind of took a step back from the coding side of things. But I'd always been interested in tech and the stories in tech. And, you know, now more than ever, you know, tech has obviously found its place in the world. It's really matured as a business segment in its own right. You know, if you compare it to, let's say, the .com bust.
Sure.
You know, now there are, you know, the top 5 companies in the world are all tech companies. You know, that clearly shows the direction of travel. And the transformative effect they can actually have on people's lives. And, you know, we all know it. In 5-10 years, just look how much our lives have changed.
It's going to change even more in the next 5 years.
It's scary, right?
Without question. Without question. No, that's great. So, we've got about 5 minutes until we go to a break, but really would like to get an understanding of what inspires you to continue your work. Now, you've talked about being motivated by people like Humera who send you messages, but is there an inspiration? Do you have business mentors that you work with? Have you been inspired by any particular individuals? I
have a bit of a boring answer in this, and in a way, no, which is a strange one. I think part of it is just my personality, in that I just know how I am. Whatever I do, I want to be the best at. You know, and I want to exceed. You know, kind of what everyone else has done, and I want to excel, and I want to be standout. So, you know, whether that's through the education system, you know, when I was doing all of that kind of stuff, or when I was at work, I always wanted to be the best, and it's the same here in a way. You know, and hopefully it doesn't come across in a big-headed way or an arrogant way, but I know I'm very capable, and I want to make sure I put that to good use.
Of course.
You know, and I think, you know, through Muzmatch, you know, alhamdulillah, I have the blessing or the good fortune that I can build a business that helps people.
Sure.
And that helps our communities. But, you know, if you look at the business side, I think Muzmatch easily, inshallah, if we work hard at it, can be a great British Muslim tech success story.
Yeah.
If I can get all those words right in one go. That's something real because, we don't have, unfortunately, and I remember just kind of through all the kind of meetups and meetings that I've had with various business people, we don't have any real large global standout Muslim brands, if you will,
not really,
that I can point to, and let's say ones that younger people can relate to as well. We don't, we were talking just earlier, let's say, okay, you've got the classic Elon Musk type of characters and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily have anyone like that for the Muslim community, and not that who knows where I get to, inshallah. But for me, I have those kind of ambitions in that I want to have or to create an example for others in terms of what a successful business can be.
Okay.
And hopefully, inshallah, people understand the hard work and the effort and the real graft that goes behind that.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't come easy.
No.
Not at all.
So I'm guessing that you, I would imagine, would have some sort of ambition to be a role model for the youth as well?
That's definitely one part of it.
Yeah.
Because, and this is from personal experience, there are very, very few role models, unfortunately. And I found that, there are a lot of people who talk a lot, but when you kind of scratch the surface, there isn't anything there.
Very true.
We have that a lot in our community, unfortunately.
Yes.
And there are a lot of, so-called mentors who have very little real world experience, unfortunately. And, this has always disappointed me. And so, even throughout all of this, I've almost kind of just battled through it in terms of figuring things out, trying to get help where you can. But unfortunately, you realise that you only really solve things by just doing it yourself and getting stuck in.
Yeah.
And you learn as you go. It literally is. That's kind of how we've got through.
Yeah.
But thankfully, so far, alhamdulillah, our instincts and my instincts have been good and have got us to where we've got to.
Yeah.
Which is great. And inshallah, we have a very healthy and bright future ahead. And for us, for myself and my co-founder Ryan, we're both super ambitious.
Yeah.
We're super driven, and indeed my whole team. The way we've built the team, and we've got another guy who's joining us, hopefully inshallah in a couple of weeks. For us, we like young, smart, hungry people because they mirror kind of myself and Ryan in how we operate. And for us, we're super ambitious. We want this to be successful.
Right.
And we've got this kind of common goal, and we're all going to it. And inshallah, we have no doubts we'll get there.
Inshallah.
But for us, it's just making sure we every day put the hard work that we need to put in to get there, because it doesn't come easy.
No, of course not.
And nothing is a given.
No. That's so true. Hard work is rewarded.
Yeah.
We all know that. That's so true. So in terms of growth, then, I mean, what's important for you as a business? I mean, is the bottom line, the most important thing, or is it the number of users? What really?
For us, so I remember, when we did Y Combinator, which is a tech accelerator in Silicon Valley. It's probably, it is the most, I guess it's the most prestigious one in the world. The likes of Airbnb, Dropbox, Stripe came out of there. So, we were the first Muslim-centric business ever to be backed by Y Combinator, which is huge in its own right.
Oh, it is massive.
And for them, I remember when we first interviewed with them, they really liked the business, they liked us, they could totally see what this could be. But they said to us, look, we don't know if this can be a business. Is it just a nice service that helps community? Great. Okay. Can it be a business? So, and up till that point, we'd intentionally delayed monetization. I was in no rush to monetize. For me, the focus was keep the app free and just focus on the app itself. Forget about monetization. Don't worry about it. Whereas Y Combinator, what they told us was, look, prove that this can be a business first, and then then you can kind of build the building blocks of what this can be.
Okay.
So then we just started some basic monetization. But our principle from the beginning has always been that everything that we charge for should be completely optional.
Okay.
So for us, we want the app or the free version of the app to be to have as much utility as possible. Yeah. So on the free app, you don't have to pay a penny. You can chat, match, message anyone without having to pay. For us, that's super important because I call it the social responsibility aspect. For us, we want there to be no barriers to anyone trying to find a partner and complete their deen. We don't want any barriers. They shouldn't have to pay. It should be a service.
Yes.
And the way we've built the app is such that those who choose to pay and upgrade their services and get extra features can pay. Okay. It's purely optional. So the monetization aspect was purely a measure of, can this be a business? Yes, it can be.
Okay.
But for us, our North Star, if you will, is users. We want to be the biggest app worldwide.
I would have thought so.
And it's not just focusing on Muslims in the West, it's Muslims globally. Our vision is global.
Yeah. Interesting. So, Y Combinator obviously made you think sooner rather than later about potentially monetizing the platform. did that kind of put you off in terms of having investors that would have a slight impact on the way you would want to do things?
Of course. I mean, I don't necessarily think it puts you off because, look, either you run a charity, which is fair enough, or you try and run a business. And to run a business, it has to be sustainable. Because at the time, I was literally putting my own savings into the business to keep it going. Yeah. And, I had probably, 6 months before I was broke. Okay. So it was important to get investment in because, people don't realise...
it turns into a hobby.
Exactly. It turns into a hobby. And you realise that you can't help as many people as you want without investing in the business. For us to be as big as we want, we need to do that.
That's true. So I just have to cut you off. We're going to go to a break in about 20 seconds. Before we do that, Penny Appeal are running the Big Muslim Variety Show on the 20th of February. We have got some free tickets to give away. So if we do get a caller, the first person to call in and talk to either us or Shahzad about the conversation will win a pair of free tickets for the Big Muslim Variety Show. Stay tuned. Don't miss the opportunity to get involved, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Stay tuned to Salaam Radio after this short ad break.
The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the best house is that house in which an orphan is treated kindly. 140 million children around the world today are orphans, living with no hope of a future or an education. For just 50 pence a day, you can transform an orphan's life and give them the secure future they deserve. Call 03000 11 11 11 now or visit www.pennyappeal.org. Penny Appeal, small change, big difference.
Is your child spending too long on their tablet or games console? Are they getting enough exercise? How about introducing them to wrestling? Futua Freestyle Wrestling Club is the only wrestling club in the Peterborough area registered to the British Wrestling Association. Wrestling is a prophetic sunnah sport that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his companions regularly participated in. Wrestling at a young age helps with flexibility, fitness, self-confidence and teamwork. Our sessions are taught by a top British wrestling coach with over 20 years experience. Every Monday and Wednesday at the Gladstone Park Community Centre on Borge Boulevard, 5:30 to 6:40 p.m. for ages 4 to 7 and 6:45 to 8 p.m. for ages 8 to 13. Monthly fees are only £10 for 8 classes ages 4 to 7 and only £15 for 8 classes ages 8 to 13. Your first session is free, so come and give us a try. To enrol, contact 07971 448847. Futua Freestyle Wrestling Club, every Monday and Wednesday at the Gladstone Park Community Centre.
Feel like some great tasting chicken tonight? Great meal deals, wraps, burgers and sides. We've got it all at Chicken Palace. Call and collect at 302 Lincoln Road on 01733 702 447 or 8 Park Road on 01733 343750. Chicken Palace, open 11 a.m. till late.
Do you or someone you know have questions about Muslims? Want to find out about true Islam and get past the headlines? Then come along to Visit My Mosque Open Day on Sunday the 18th of February at Masjid Khadija and Islamic Centre. Everyone is welcome. All faiths, no faith, all ages. Join us in a friendly atmosphere for a cup of tea and a bite to eat. Learn about the charity work we do, observe Muslim prayer, take away free books. This year we also have a great interactive storytelling session for kids at 1:30 p.m. For more information, go to visitmymosque.eventbrite.com. Visit My Mosque Open Day, Sunday the 18th of February at Masjid Khadija and Islamic Centre, 311 to 313 Cromwell Road, Peterborough, PE1 2HP. Pop in and see us between 11 and 5. Let's get to know each other better.
Gems and jewels, wise sayings, interesting events, and moral lessons from Islamic history. The best ones.
The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "From my nation, the most merciful to the believers is Abu Bakr. The strongest of them upon Allah's religion is Omar. Truly, the most modest of them is Uthman. The best judge among them is Ali ibn Abi Talib. The one possessing the best recitation of Quran is Ubay ibn Ka'b. The best concerning inheritance law is Zayd.
This is Salaam Radio, Peterborough's Muslim community radio. Broadcasting on 106.2 FM and online.
Assalamu alaikum, listeners. Welcome back to Salaam Radio. This is, of course, Friday Night Prime. I'm here with my guest, Shahzad Younas from Muzmatch, CEO and founder, and, of course, my co-host, Faisal Mahmood. If you just joined us, you've joined us at a really good time because I was just announcing a little competition we've got going, and there's not even a question. We're not going to make it any easier. It's just fantastic. So give us a call to talk about the discussion we're sharing now. Call in, and the first person to call in, the number is 01733 602133, will win a couple of tickets for the Big Muslim Variety Show taking place here in Peterborough at the Broadway Theatre on the 20th of February. Now, these tickets are worth, I think, about £10 each, or maybe more actually. No, £15 each. So you can get them free. All you've got to do is call in and talk to us. That's all we're looking for. So, yeah, we were talking to Shahzad earlier on, and I think, Brother Faisal, you've got a question.
I do have a question, but before I go to that, I was just thinking about this. I don't think people like calling in anymore.
Do you think that's what it is?
Yeah, people like messaging. I mean, the messages come on Facebook and WhatsApp.
So should we change it?
I think I'll give them the option. If someone wants to message in, let them message in.
Let's do it. Right. So the next message, the next message to come in from a UK number, I should say, because this is a UK show, will win a pair of tickets. But we've had a couple of messages, actually. So first of all, there's a brother. This is Amjad Majid from Pakistan. I just installed your app today, and I hope I'll find someone for me, inshallah. Inshallah. And someone else, Assalamu alaikum, this is Wazir from Belgium. Your app is helpful to the ummah. It's decent and revolutionary. I hope to meet someone there soon, though, inshallah. Inshallah, brother. Thank you for your comment. Unfortunately, I can't give you tickets because you're in Belgium. But,
okay, inshallah. So one of the questions I wanted to ask was, what have been the major challenges for you as a businessman or as a business starting this up?
I think undoubtedly for us, I guess the initial challenge is always spreading the word. You know, when you're starting a platform essentially from zero, that is a challenge. You know, we didn't ever want to have, you know, a common kind of tactic used by either apps or, let's say, websites, especially when they're starting up, is to have a lot of fake profiles so that people sign up and think, oh, it's really busy. You know, there's a reason to sign up to join these people. Whereas I never wanted to do that. So I remember day one was literally 0 profiles. So getting those first few people to sign up and persist as you're growing is always a challenge. You know, but alhamdulillah now, you know, we're at the stage where literally thousands are joining every day and joining the community on the app. I think we've definitely overcome that hurdle. You know, and now things are obviously, you know, alhamdulillah, accelerating, which is great for us. But, you know, that initial period always tests your patience, and it tests your resolve as a founder when you're starting a business, because, you know, you might have a period of doubt thinking, you know, I'm never going to get over this hurdle. You know, I remember, you know, in the early days, you know, there's an app called Google Analytics which shows you how many people are using your app. And I remember, you know, for the first couple of months it was like 30 people. And I thought this was a disaster. I quit my job. You know, my parents would give me grief because I quit my successful job and I'm doing this, and just 30 people are on my app. But I persisted, and alhamdulillah, you know, things paid off. You know, I believed in what I was doing, and you know, we are where we are today now, and you know, alhamdulillah, it's a great story.
Alhamdulillah. Did you do any market research before you dived into development, or
I definitely. So I looked at everything that was out there, and in my eyes there was a lot of things that I didn't like. You know, whether it's the way that they decided to try and hook people in as a so-called free service and then try and hook them into pay when it wasn't actually free. I hated that tactic, and you know, we've never had that, you know, on our platform. Number one. Number two, a lot of the features just hadn't changed in, you know, the last 15 years. You know, so we hadn't moved on as a product or as an offering for the Muslim community. So, you know, for me, I had so many ideas that because of the fact that our service is purely mobile only, it allows us to do a lot of things. It allows us to use things like your location, the security aspects, etc., that a website will never, you know, allow you to do. So for us, it already gives us that advantage. You know, so all of these kind of ideas, I kind of put into, call it version 1, you know, was spec'd up and designed where I thought it should be, and then launched it. and then analysed and spoke to users. They gave a lot of feedback, which was great because we noted down all the feedback. You know, we try and have a culture where, you know, if a user gets in touch with us, we'll do our very best to actually reply to them. You know, the last thing we hate is users to just get ignored, you know, if they send us a message. So, you know, now we have 300, 400, you know, inbound messages from users to our team, you know, asking either questions or asking for advice, you know, almost as well. And we do our very best to actually respond to every single person and help them out in whatever way.
And how's the community taking to this?
Alhamdulillah, the community's taking it to it really well. I mean, of course, you're always going to have some who'll say, oh, you know, they'll have the Western connotations of apps and assume it's haram or assume it's, you know,
dating.
Yeah, they'll assume it's dating, as in, you know, the Western version of dating, if you will. Whereas, you know, we've seen from people who use the apps properly, and even with the way and the tone of the app and the way we make you sign up and the things we ask, you know, we ask you questions like, when are you looking to get married? Because it's important. You know, we're not an app for casual dating. That's, you know, full stop. That's not what we ever want to be. So educating people, you know, past that stereotype of what apps are, you know, because people have this view, but once they've actually signed up and tried it, they actually realise, you know what, I can actually see there are a lot of serious people on here and people are actually looking to get married. And it actually is useful for people looking to get married. And I think that's the key. And not only that, you know, the way we've designed the app, we've got features that no one has. So, you know, we have things like complete privacy. So, you know, both men and women can choose to have their photos completely hidden. Because we know for a lot of people, privacy is so important,
Absolutely.
you know, especially in the community. They don't necessarily want to be out there as such. But also on top of that, you know, a user can, if they want, they can include a chaperone. So, you know, their wali, their parent, their brother, etc. They can include within the app.
That's excellent.
And no one's doing that. And, you know, even within the app, you know, when you're messaging someone, if you have a wali or they do, it's clearly stated on the chat to both people. So it's very transparent. And the idea of all of this, and including some of the security features we have, for example, you know, we automatically censor any inappropriate language, etc. All of these things we've thought about because there's a certain culture that we want on the app and there's a certain tone and intention. And that's what we want to promote. You know, we want to promote people who are serious about their search.
We've got a caller on the line, I think by the name of Anno. It looks like Anno. Let me just have a look. Salaam alaikum. You're live on air on Salaam Radio. Who am I speaking to?
Hello, walaikum assalam. It's okay. I don't want to disclose my name if that's all right.
Okay, of course. No problem.
Yeah. Okay. Assalamu alaikum, brothers. I've just been listening, tuned in and listening to the show. So, alhamdulillah, I think you guys are doing a great job, both in the show and for tonight's conversation as well.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you.
I do have a question. I have registered with Muzmatch. I've registered since August last year. I've have seen some good points and some negative points as well. I've read quite a few reviews. I want to know what makes your app different from the rest. I've got a few apps that I'm registered with. Muzmatch being one of the top of the list that I use at the moment. But for people to say to encourage my friends to use it, what would say is the number one thing that stands out that is not on another app?
Yeah, well, thank you for calling in and Jazakallah for your question. I think for sure the quality of both the app and of the people that are on the app. I think they're by far our kind of edge, if you will, and really do set us apart. You know, I've downloaded every single app. I've tried every single website. You know, on my phone, I have probably 15 different apps. And I know clearly that we are, you know, a step ahead of everybody else. You know, even down to the quality of the profiles. You know, there's a lot of stuff that goes on, you know, to the point where every single profile that you see, you know, somebody has manually kind of overseen that. So they've checked, does the selfie match up with the photos? Is all the other information appropriate? Have they filled everything in? And only then do we approve it. And, you know, we ask about 22 different data points, if you will, about that person. So, you know, how religious would they describe themselves? How often do they pray? Do they only eat halal? When are they actually looking to get married? Things about profession, education. You know, we've kind of distilled it to the absolute minimum that we know people need to know in terms of gauging whether somebody is appropriate for them in terms of marriage or not. And I think we do it in a way that is the least awkward, the least horrible, completely free as well, in a manner that works for a lot of people, and it's the most efficient. So, you know, the feedback we've had from people, and don't get me wrong, we know our service isn't perfect. There are tons of things that we're working on every day. There are certain aspects that we know are a problem on the app, and, you know, whenever you essentially bring people together, a whole multitude of things can happen, good and bad, unfortunately. For us, our job is to make sure that we keep the app and the service as secure and safe as possible. I know categorically we do more than most to remove any scam profiles, any fakers, anyone being inappropriate. We actually pride ourselves on the fact that we've blocked and removed well over 8,000 profiles. Okay. And we don't care if they are paying customers or free customers. We don't care. We'll block them.
Is that quite a laborious task? Is that a manual process?
That is, because if somebody reports somebody, a member of our team will literally read through the chat, get all the evidence and have a look. And only once we've seen clear evidence of what took place, or if we see a multitude of reports coming from different people that are all very similar, then we know there's obviously a theme there. And we have kind of zero tolerance on this. So if somebody's inappropriate or they're clearly not looking for marriage, they're off. We're very kind of insistent on that because we know, look, Muzmatch, inshallah, will only be successful and has been so far because of our reputation. The reputation that A, it works, that B, alhamdulillah, we're better than everybody else and we're doing a great job, and C, that it works for people. We've had so many people who, in a sense, have heard of Muzmatch because of their friend's wedding they attended, where they heard that the couple met through Muzmatch. That's exactly what we want to hear.
Sure.
And the people who have met have been our greatest ambassadors. They're happy to tell their friends. We're actually filming a whole bunch of kind of success story type of videos that we want to share with people because there's so many stories that we want to share of people who've met and got married to our app.
Sister, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. I did also watch the documentary on the BBC that was, I think it was early this week, that was broadcasted. Yeah, I did watch that as well. So I have seen it. I mean, I didn't know about it, like I say, until August when my friends sort of introduced me to it. But I have seen the widespread, and I do have to say that your blog that you send the members links to these stories, I do really find that useful as well and quite entertaining at times as well. So
perfect.
That does stand out as well from, I'm not seeing it on anything else, but yeah, keep up the good work.
No, Jazakallah, thank you very much.
Sister, you've before you go, don't hang up, and our studio manager will talk to you again if he hasn't already about the 2 tickets that you, of course, have won for calling in and giving us your opinion and the question. So do stay on the phone.
Okay, thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. So, that was Sister Anonymous, fair enough, with a very important question, which you answered very succinctly, I might say.
Exactly. So, and she mentioned, actually, the blog that we run, and that's something that, for us, is how we treat, I guess our users and our audience. For us, they are, and we treat them as a community, because it's this community of Muslims, all, inshallah, with the same intention. They're all trying to solve this and go through this aspect of their life of finding a partner. So one thing we do, and we share, we have a blog, a Muzmatch blog, it's muzmatch.com/blog, and we share different kind of stories, people's journeys, either on the app or just trying to find a partner, or maybe they were married before and things didn't work out, and they share that story, that they've been through, because there's a lot of advice and a lot of help that we can give and that people are asking for, and for us it's important, and we share that stuff with our community essentially.
Sorry to cut you off, just on that community, so you're building such a, mashallah, large digital community, and you have a major responsibility. How do you deal with that?
It's a great problem in that the community is really getting big,
right?
So as it gets bigger, obviously it presents its own challenges, especially as you figure out, well, how do you serve a global audience well?
Okay.
So for us, one aspect of this will be languaging, etc. within the app. We really want to provide a more native experience for people wherever they are around the world. But in terms of your question, how do we solve that? I mean, look, one thing we're going to be doing, and we plan to do, is really talk to our users a lot more.
Okay.
And talk to them in ways that's relevant for them. So one aspect of the app itself right now is the very fact that it uses your location means that you see people who are relevant to you because they're usually nearby or within your area, and most likely they'll be a similar background, etc. And that's one great thing. So wherever you are in the world, you're seeing people relevant. And by that same token, with the content that we share and that we want to share, we want to start introducing content that is equally relevant to you. So whether it's in the French language because you're in a French-speaking country, or it's to do with French culture or French Muslim culture, for example, things like that, things that are of interest and hopefully are of use to those particular segments. So for us, it's a big challenge, and it's a big I guess it's a big problem that we want to solve. And for us, it's really exciting because we have this great platform. Of course, matching people and inshallah getting them married is one part of it, but the other part is obviously talking to them, providing them with a source of A, knowledge, and B, hopefully advice and expertise as well is equally important.
No, absolutely, of course. Now we touched on this before about Muzmatch has been described as being a Muslim dating app. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's a tough thing to juggle, because this terminology of Muslim dating is, personally I find it problematic.
Yeah.
But then I've spent a lot of time, in the States and here, and I'll tell you there's definitely a big culture difference between, UK Muslims versus US Muslims.
Interesting.
And if you said the word Muslim dating to any US Muslim or American Muslim, I don't think anybody would bat an eyelid. Right. For them, the understanding of Muslim dating is the meetings at a coffee shop before parents get involved, or during the initial conversations where parents are talking. That's what they term Muslim dating. Whereas for us, we think Muslim dating, we think all the haram aspects of Western dating, right? And I think that distinction...
Just purely the word dating.
It is the word dating itself. It's the connotation of the word dating. But we know, despite all of that, what are people searching for? We know people don't necessarily search for Muslim marriage, even though that's in their head, but they search for Muslim dating. So that's one aspect. So the second aspect is, obviously whenever we've been very fortunate to be covered by the BBC, by a whole host of leading media organisations.
Yeah, you've had good coverage.
We've had great coverage.
Yeah.
We're very, very lucky. And one thing that we always bear in mind, and we always trying to make mention of, we're in the Evening Standard last week. And one aspect we always say is that, look, Muslims don't date, we marry.
Yeah.
That's kind of, in a nutshell, that's the difference between the cultures, if you will. And we always try to express that, because a lot of journalists who aren't Muslim and who are covering this story, this area is new to them equally, right?
Of course.
And they're writing a piece, etc. For them, this comes under Muslim dating. It's the initial courtship, if you will, before people get married. So it's always something that's tricky. I do think it's a generational thing as well,
of course,
because not that things are degrading in that sense, if you will, but it's just the terminology is changing of how people describe these things. And I think young people today, if they're talking about the initial conversations before parents get involved and they get married, inshallah, I think people will generally call that Muslim dating, though that's not obviously what they mean.
No, of course. But when you have some of these interactions with journalists and the media, have there been frustrating times where they just don't get it and they don't understand the difference?
Sometimes, but I have to admit, overall, talking to a non-Muslim audience about this, I think the manner in which you talk about it, the way you explain it, sometimes with a dose of humour, helps a lot. Because I'll tell you, it's if you go into a room and suddenly say, this is a Muslim marriage app and this is what we're doing, it can be quite heavy for people.
Absolutely.
Especially for a non-Muslim audience. And I think, through my conversations, especially when I was meeting investors, etc., talking about this in a way that they could understand, and explain the culture in a way that they could understand,
right.
I think really nailed it. And I was always amazed at how well non-Muslims received Muzmatch, essentially, or this product, and that once they understood those differences in culture, they totally understood the proposition, and they totally understood why, call it Western mainstream dating apps, couldn't serve this market.
Right.
And hence they could see the justification of why we exist, and inshallah, why we'll be successful.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that's worth touching on this point, and during my conversations of meeting investors, etc., I have to admit, I had numerous conversations with various Muslim investors, and unfortunately, we didn't manage to secure any investment from a Muslim investor, which I was personally disappointed with. Because I thought, okay, well, this is your community, right? You understand all of this.
Absolutely.
How can you not... you equally know the problems we have, and how can you not support and see how a company like ours can fit? So that was always a shame. But for us, look, we battle on. We know our mission. We know what we need to do. For us, it was finding the right investors who respected what we were about, didn't interfere with. You touched earlier in terms of the investor pressure, if you will. But ultimately, look, investors. They understand our vision. They understand the sensibilities that I'm driving Muzmatch towards, and what's important to us, and they respect that. And I've been very clear with that. To the point where. Our investors, we've asked them, look, is there any alcohol money or any, let's say, haram money involved in your investment, number one. And equally, us having the flexibility to not have those kind of pressures, the investment that we got has no interest involved, which these kind of little things are important to us.
Absolutely.
Because, when you're working for someone else, you're, especially if it's, if you're, I was working in a bank, for example, right? So has its own issues, if you will, Islamically. And you don't, in a way, you kind of, compromise on things. And sometimes, obviously it's never great, but you know that you're consciously making that decision. And I think when you have the luxury and the opportunity to run your own business, you can run it in your own image with the values that, inshallah, that you want to persist. And I think that's been something that's really fortunate in the way that I've gone about with Muzmatch.
So what do you think is the future holding? What's the future holding for us?
I mean, inshallah, look, I'm super excited. I actually think, now I think Muzmatch definitely and inshallah will be a global Muslim consumer brand in a way that's never existed before. And the reason why I say it's never existed before is because I think the technology then never allowed this to exist. There was never the fact of having mobile apps. There was never the fact of mobile internet or just internet or good internet in, let's say, developing countries across the Muslim world. Now these things are happening. Now everyone's, for example, on Facebook, if you will, or on WhatsApp, etc. The world is a very connected place. And I think through Muzmatch, now's the first time where we can have a central service for the Muslim community around the world that actually connects them together. And that's our mission. Our mission is to be the biggest Muslim consumer brand globally. And inshallah, I think we'll get there.
Inshallah.
Okay, final question from me. What do you think is holding Muslim businesses and technology or tech businesses back?
I think I touched on this a little bit earlier. I think partly the lack of support we have within our own communities. Even when I looked at and spoke to Muslim investors internationally, let's say in the Middle East, etc. They're used to the old businesses of property, energy, the conventional type of businesses where everything is tangible, right? Exactly, right. It's the old world, and only now are they trying to shift towards technology. But the problem is, they're too late because the Western markets have already kind of found their place within technology and invested there, if you will. But also they lack understanding and knowledge in terms of how technology can be a business and what makes a good technology business. And I think that's where we slightly fall apart. And not only that, unfortunately, like I mentioned, I don't think we do a good enough job of supporting each other, whether that's just giving genuine advice and sincere advice to each other, helping other businesses, etc. One thing I try and do, I'm already crazy busy with Muzmatch. I don't think I sleep, but one thing I try and do is if somebody does reach out to me wanting advice on their business or just general advice in whatever they're doing, if I can help, I always try and help. And even just this week, I think I had coffee with 3 different people, just helping them in their ideas or what they wanted to do, or just providing general advice. And for me, I think if there were more people in our communities who genuinely did that, and hopefully without any kind of selfish need for themselves, I think that would actually be quite major and would actually help a lot more people.
Definitely.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that is the case in, sadly, the Muslim community. I suppose in the Pakistani community, I could say, and that's not controversial, I think it's just factual, is that we do tend to pull successful people down.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah,
we're quick to either attack them or... I mean, don't get me wrong, there are equally, unfortunately, a lot of slightly questionable things that we do as well, right? So I'm not pretending that everything is rosy on that front, but one thing is for sure that, of course, you're right. We don't necessarily support each other the way other communities do, and unfortunately, there are a lot of people who, in a way, shout loudest without much in the way of real experience or real knowledge. And I think that can prove to be a big distraction for a lot of people, and they can end up down paths that necessarily they didn't want to go down. And I think that's a problem as well.
Sure.
People need to, I guess, realize where they can actually help other people and make a genuine effort on that front.
Absolutely. Brother Shahzad, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Sadly, we're out of time. And we didn't even get to cover.
It genuinely has flown by. Thank you very much for having me, guys.
No, not at all. It's been a pleasure and insightful as well into how you launched the business and the struggles that you've had and the successes you're now having. So
Jazakallah.
It's fantastic.
Thank you very much. And for everyone out there, it's like I said, it's a completely free app. If you're looking to find your partner, just download it on your phone. Go to the App Store and search Muzmatch, Muzmatch. Download it. It's completely free.
MashaAllah. Excellent. Fantastic.
And that was my final plug. Thank you.
That's perfect. It's wonderful. Thank you again, brother. And inshallah, we'll have you on again soon, I'm sure.
I look forward to it. Thank you very much, guys.
Inshallah. Just leaves us time for the usual community announcements and what we've got coming up in the coming weeks, really. I suppose I'll try and do these in chronological order. So, as we all know, on the 18th of February is the MCB's National Visit My Mosque Day. and this is taking place at 3 masajid in Peterborough: the Hussaini Islamic Centre, Gulsia Masjid, and Masjid Khadija. Varying times. The one I have in front of me is Masjid Khadija. That's 11 till 5. So please tell your non-Muslim friends, colleagues, neighbours, etc. just to come along and pop in. No need to register, and share a bite to eat, a cup of tea. The Gulsia Masjid is 1 till 6 p.m. Again, no need to register. And I don't have the timings, unfortunately, for the... No, I do. I do have the timings for the Hussaini Islamic Centre. That is 1:30 till 5 p.m. Again, Sunday the 18th. So it's great this year, alhamdulillah, that we've got 3 mosques taking part in the National Visit My Mosque Day. So please do get the word out there and let people know. Also on the same date, clashing with those mosque days, are Top Yard School of Boxing Amateur Boxing Afternoon at the Gladstone Park Recreation Centre. And this is 1 p.m. doors, boxing starting at 1:30. For tickets, contact Hamad on 07790 928 546. I've already mentioned the Big Muslim Variety Show, 20th of February, the Broadway Theatre in Peterborough. Visit pennyappeal.org or pop into the studio for tickets for that. And coming up on the 3rd of March, brother Zain Hawan, who's very well known in Peterborough, with Jamal Mahmood, Zia Ahmed, are hosting at the Key Theatre Studio, doors 7:15. This is a foreign policy. This is a night of poetry exploring masculinity, politics, chicken shops, grandparents, yes, belonging, heartbreak, learning and loving. 3 young British Pakistani men present the first batch of freshly prepared reflections on issues and current affairs most local to them and quintessentially foreign to many. This is going to be an excellent event. This is 7:15, 3rd of March. Tickets available online at Vivacity. Do check that out, please. And just time, really, to let you know about the Millfield Festival 2018. There's a planning panel taking place, I think, on the 19th of February. But that's all we've got time for. Inshallah, we'll be with you same time, same place next week. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Stay tuned to Salaam Radio.